This mailbag question asks, how does a diagnosis of a chronic illness as pervasive as Crohn's disease, for example, how does it affect the personal and professional dreams and career choices of teens and young adults? Obviously, having a pervasive chronic illness is going to affect your dreams and your career choices, but let me sort of tackle it from a career choice perspective first. Obviously, and again, this may be repetitive, but the Americans with Disabilities Act and some other legislation is geared towards people who have disabilities, and it helps them achieve the dreams and career choices that they wanted before they got ill. So always consider that. And also, you know, there's nothing wrong with modifying your dreams. Let's say you wanted to be a trial attorney. You're very smart and you have a great personality. You're very persuasive, for example, but maybe you have Crohn's disease and you end up having to be in the bathroom so many times during the day that being a trial attorney may be a bit unrealistic. Well, think about this. Number one, most cases settle. I know this because I had a law school professor who said he became a law school professor after being a trial attorney because he didn't get to try cases enough, and he loved the sound of his own voice that he became a teacher. That's a true story. Now, obviously, I believe they'll have to accommodate you, but just keep in mind that you could adjust your dream slightly and you'd be surprised. Yeah, focusing on what you can't do is one way to go about it, but if you focus on what you can do, then I think you could still practice law, but maybe do a different area of law. And in all reality, a trial attorney does so much preparatory work, they don't get to try as many cases as it looks like they do on TV. So, and I use that example because I think it's the most demonstrative of dreams that you could adjust. Now, as far as my own life, and again, I'm giving you anecdotal stories. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, I can't counsel anybody, but I can tell you that I wanted to be an attorney, and at age 26, after I got my MBA, I decided to go to law school. But I was waitlisted at like 10 New York law schools. I lived in New York at the time, and I got into only one law school in Boston. It was called New England School of Law. I was nothing against that school, but I was hoping I wouldn't have to leave home, even at 26. I became so dependent on my relationships with my doctors and obviously my friends and whatnot, but I didn't want to leave my doctors. And I was afraid of that, 3 a.m. phone call back home to my folks, like I'm in the hospital, I got to have surgery, blah, blah, blah. Well, as life would have it, I never got into any of those waitlisted schools, and I had to face my biggest fear. That's the way my life has gone. It's like in sports or in baseball when they have a great hitter, but he can't field, so they try to hide him in right field or second base. Somehow, in the next inning, someone hits the ball right to him, second base or right field. The ball always finds him. That's the story of my life. So I went up to Boston, and luckily in the first month or so, I made some really, really great friends. I mean, in law school, you tend to bond very quickly. But sure enough, after about a month there, 3 a.m., rushed to the hospital, bad obstruction, I had to call my folks. I was petrified. New doctors, I already had a complicated history at that point, and I had all these dreams, and here I am thinking, oh, what am I going to do? I may have to drop out. So, long story short, even friends from back east from New York came up, which was unbelievable, and to try to support me, and I had surgery. I was in the hospital for a while. Then I was okay, and then like a month later I was in the hospital again, and the first semester of law school for me was very difficult. I maybe had 2 or 3 surgeries in the span of 6 months. Well, one day the phone rang in the hospital. It was the dean of the law school, very nice guy. He asked how I felt and whatnot, and then he said, Michael, listen, I really think you should consider dropping out and starting over next year. I said, why would I do that? He said, because you're going to fail. You're not going to pass the year-end tests, and I don't want to see that happen to you. You seem like a bright guy, telling me all these nice things. I said, but I don't want to do that. I think I'm doing okay in the classes. I understand everything. He said, well, I have to be frank with you that there's a state law that you must attend all lectures in the first year of law school, something to that effect. I said, well, obviously it can't be that you must attend. It's got to be that you must listen to. I was already thinking like a lawyer, so I guess I had learned a lot in law school, and he even said that, which I thought was funny. He said, you're right. you have to listen to every lecture. I said, well, then that's no problem. If there are cassette tapes, this is back in 1992, if I could get all the cassette tapes, I'll sign an affidavit when I listen to each one. I have no problem. He says, I think you need to go to class, though, to get the best of the education and so that you'll pass the exams. I said, no, I'm fine. And he acquiesced, and I was in the hospital many more times that first year of law school. But I listened to every lecture. I had great friends who helped me through it. Luckily, I healed about 2 months before finals. I had study groups, and I did extremely well. In fact, I almost made law review. And the next year, when my grades came out, the dean and I became great friends. I think he had great respect for my fortitude, and 2 years later, when I graduated, I think I received the first Special Dean's Award. The reason why I'm telling you this story is because I had a dream. I had a dream of wanting to be a lawyer, but because of my illness, I couldn't do it. You know, the dean of the law school called me to tell me to drop out. There was pressure from people who knew he liked me. He had no interest in me dropping out. I mean, he was trying to do what was good for me, but I found a way. That you could always find a way, and I did. I listened to the lectures, and I think that that's what people have to do. You don't have to give up your dreams just because of a chronic illness. Sure, it's going to be different, but you can always find a way. And I guess what that law school lesson taught me, again, it was a lesson I didn't want to have to learn, but it taught me that I was going to always have to be ready to adapt to Plan B. Whether that was move to Boston with new doctors and have to deal with them, or do what other students didn't have to do, which was listen to tapes of the law school lectures. You know, so these are the kinds of things that teens and young adults have to consider when they do have a chronic illness. And I'm telling you, it doesn't make you worse. I think it makes you a better person. People have tremendous respect for you. You have tremendous respect for yourself. I think it demonstrates a tremendous amount of resiliency and fortitude. You know, listen, it sounds like I'm saying, hey, everyone should get a chronic illness. That's great. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to make the best of a situation. It's not a terrible situation. It's not as good as it could be, but it's a situation. And I think if you deal with it head on and you do what you have to, this is what's available to you. In terms of a specific answer to the question of, you know, how being diagnosed with a chronic illness can affect the dreams or professional or career choices of teens or young adults, all I could say is this, is that a diagnosis of a chronic illness, particularly one like Crohn's disease, which is autoimmune and it could cause all sorts of problems as you get older, it's going to introduce uncertainty, unreliability, and disappointment into your life. These are characteristics that you're going to have to become familiar with, maybe earlier than your friends and certainly more often than your friends. But at the same time, chronic illness brings with it a clarity. It brings with it a clarity where there's no time for all the noise around you. There's no time to get caught up in superficial aspects of things. Like when I wanted to get through the first year of law school, I just asked the dean, what do I have to do? It was just very clear. He told me, I did it. I could have chose not to do it, but it was clear. And I knew what I wanted to do. So with the bad comes the good. And with the clarity comes new dreams and opportunities. Look, I never thought in a million years that I would write a book about a chronic illness, be on TV talking about it, and helping people and touching their hearts. I never thought that could ever possibly happen. And again, I'll say that when I get an email or a phone call or a note or some other communication from a person who's watched a video or read my book and they tell me how much it changed their life or the life of their son or daughter, or it made them laugh, or it made a difficult situation a little bit more palatable, nothing, and I mean nothing, could ever replace that. Not an Oscar, not winning millions of dollars or earning millions of dollars. So when you get diagnosed with such a chronic illness, just embrace it. It shows you. It's pushing you to a different path. So try not to look at it as, you know, you're abandoning dreams and you have to make different choices. Just go with it, all right? Just make the best of what you can with what you have at the time. That's what everybody needs to do all the time. Sometimes having too many choices is a bad thing. You know, it's great growing up knowing that you could be an astronaut, a doctor, a lawyer, a veterinarian, an athlete, etc. But when you get chronic illness, it narrows your choices. Sometimes that's good. It gives you focus. It gives you the fortitude and the resiliency to understand that at times someone's going to come in and just knock your block off. You're going to be in the hospital for 2 weeks and everything's going to have to stop. Very difficult going through life like that, but it makes you a very strong and resilient person. And the people who succeed in life, when I mean succeed, I mean who are happy in life, because everyone has their own definition of success. People who are resilient and who have fortitude and courage are those types of people. And that's what chronic illness does for you. So I hope that helps. I'm trying not to be Pollyannish about it. I'm just giving you what it's done for me.